Hello friends, welcome back to the ethical hacking course. Today we are going to talk about how attackers gain access to a different types of computer devices. And when I say computer devices, I don't just mean laptops or desktops. I mean anything that has an operating system. This includes your phone, TV, web servers, websites, routers. Basically, all of these are computers. Every device you see works just like a computer. They have operating systems and programs installed on them. And these systems are used by people. Whether it's a Windows or Linux system, the concept of gaining access to this device are very similar. In this video, we will focus on two main targets, a Windows device and a Linux device. But remember, you can apply the same idea to the phone, tablets, or even the web servers. The first approach we will talk about is server-side attacks. This type of attack does not need any user interaction. For example, think about a web server or a device that runs on its own. We will use the device IP address to see how secure it is and how we can gain access. Our focus here will be on the operating system and the applications running on that system. Now let's look at the client-side attack. This kind of attack needs the user to do something like opening a file, installing an update, or even clicking on a picture. We will learn how to create trojans, backdoors, and how to trick user into giving us access. This is where social engineering comes into play. We gather information about the person so we can target them effectively. Once we can gain access to the target device, what can we do next? Whether it's through a server-side or client-side attack, or even physical access, we will discuss how to further exploit the system. This includes increasing privileges or even targeting other computers in the same network. So, in the next part, we will dive deeper into this method and show you how attackers gain access to a different devices. Today we are diving into the basics of cracking WEP encryption, also known as wired equivalent privacy. Now, WEP is an old encryption method and frankly, not very secure anymore. But it's still important to learn because not it is a great starting point for understanding wireless security. But you might still encounter networks that use it. As ethical hackers, we don't want to stump it when faced with WEP, right? In this video, I will explain how WEP works and highlight the main vulnerabilities that we can exploit to break it. In the next video, we will go through the process of using that weakness to the crack WP and get the network key. So let's get started with how web encryption works. Webs use an algorithm called RC4 to encrypt data. Imagine a client went to send data to a router before it sends anything. It encrypts the data using a key. This turns readable data into what looks like a random gibberish. This encrypted packet is then sent over the air. If a hacker intercepts this packet, all they will see the gibberish. They won't be able to make sense of the data because it's encrypted. However, when the router receives these packets, it can decrypt it using a key that matches the one the client used. The same process happens when the router sends data back to the client. It's encrypted first, then decrypted on the other side. Now, here is the tricky part. RC4 itself is fine. The problem lies in how web implements it. Web tries to make sure each data packet has a unique key by generating a 24-bit random number called a initialization vector. This is IV combined with the network's password to create the key stream, which is then used to encrypt the data. The IV is included in the packets along with the encrypted data. But here is the catch. The IV is sent in a plain text. This means anyone intercepting the package can see the IVs clearly. The IV is only 24 bits long, which is not a large enough number to keep things secure, especially on a busy network. As more packets are sent, I will start to repeat, making the encryption vulnerable to a statistical attack. Using a tool like Aircrack-ng, we can collect enough packets with repeated IVs and eventually determine the key stream. From there, cracking web and getting the network's key becomes possible. So that's the theory behind why web is vulnerable and how we can crack it. So in the previous lecture, we discussed the theory behind web cracking. Today we will take it a step further and perform it in practice. To crack web encryption, the first thing we need a large number of packets or IVs. These IVs are short and will eventually repeat, which allow us to perform a statistical attack using the tool Aircrack-ng. We will begin by using aerodump ng to capture packets. I have already set my wireless adapter into monitor mode and its name LAN 0. Running aerodump lists all the networks around me. And as you can see, we have one network using WEP. It's called GNXS 2.4 GHz. For the purpose of this demo, I have configured this network to use WEP. Next, I am going to target the network by running aerodump with the BSS ID, copy that and paste here, and channel number specified. I will also use the write command to save the captured data into file name basic web and use wireless adapter in monitor mode is LAN 0. So let's run this command. As you can see, aerodump is actively capturing packets from my target network and the data counts is increasing quickly. This is because it's a busy network with several devices connected. Here is an important point. The data column represents the number of useful packets containing unique IVs, which are crucial for cracking the key. The more IVs we capture, the more likely we will be able to break the encryption. Once we have captured enough data, the next step is to use Aircrack-ng to crack the key from the captured file, which is the .cap file. Let's run Aircrack-ng with the file name basic web.cap file and hit enter. Success, the web key has been cracked. We can now use this key to connect to the network. I am going to use the crack key to connect to the network. As you can see, I have removed the colons and entered the key into the password field. Let's connect. We are connected. Now let's test the connection by opening a browser and visiting a google.com. Google loads successfully on screen. And there you have it. We have successfully cracked the web encryption and connected to the target network. So that's how you crack a web protected network. In the previous lecture, we saw just how simple it can be to crack web encryption and capture enough data using Aircrack-ng. But there is one challenge you might face, a quiet or slow network. If the network is not busy, the data we need to crack the key will increase really slowly. This means we had been waiting for hours before gathering enough information to break the encryption. So, how do we speed things up? Let's jump into an example. I am running Aircrack-ng to list all the networks around me. And here is my test network, GNXS 2.4 GHz, and it's using WEP. But look at the data count. It's sitting at 0, barely moving. A solution, we can focus the network to generate new packets with the new IVs. But before we can do that, we need to associate with the target network. Association does not mean connecting. We are not joining the network because we don't have the password yet. What we are doing is telling the access point, hey, I want to talk to you, so don't ignore my request. Now let's associate with the network. I am running aerodump ng with the target network BSS ID. and here to copy the MAC address of your target network and paste here and set the channel. My network's channel number is 1 and I will save the data in a file called ARP replay because that is the attack we will be using. As you can see, the data is increasing very slowly, so we need to speed things up. To associate, we will be using Airplay-ng with the fake authentication attack. Airplay-ng fake auth put 0 for do only once and -a targeted MAC address and -h my wireless adapter's MAC address. Copy the first 12 digits and paste here after -h and replace hyphens to colons and enter our wireless adapter and I will run the command. Done. Notice under auth it now says open and show a new client. My wireless adapter is associated with the network. But remember, I am not connected yet. Now that we have successfully associated with our target network, we can finally start interacting with it. This means the network will no longer ignore us. So what's next? We can begin injecting packets into the network traffic to force the access point to create a new packets with the fresh IVs. This process will speed things up dramatically, allowing us to crack web network in just a few minutes. Even on a quiet network like the one we are targeting right now, there are different ways to achieve this. But in this course, we will focus on the most reliable method, the ARP request replay method. There are different ways to achieve this, but in this course, we will focus on the most reliable method, the ARP request replay attack. Other methods exist, but they are more complex and less reliable. This attack works on most networks as long as you have a strong signal and a good wireless adapter. Here is how it works. We wait for an ARP packet. Don't worry, I will explain ARP in more detail later on. For now, just know it is a special type of network packet we are looking for. Once this packet is transmitted on the network, we capture it and retransmit it. This forces the router to create a new packet with a new IV. And by repeating this process, we continuously force the router to generate new packets with the new IVs. Once we have enough data, enough IVs, we can run Aircrack-ng just like we did before. To crack the key, as you can see, I am already running Aircrack-ng against our target network and I have associated with it. Now, the only things left is to run the ARP replay attack to inject packets and get the router to generate more packets with the new IVs. To do this, we will use Airplay-ng. I will copy this command and modify few things. First, we are not doing a fake authentication attack. So I will remove that part. We are going to run an ARP replay attack instead. ARP replay and this attack does not need a number. So I will be removed. Lastly, I will replace the A with the B to signify ARP replay. If you look closely, the command is almost identical. We are using Airplay-ng, but instead of fake authentication, we are doing an ARP replay attack. The MAC address of target network comes after B and my wireless adapter's MAC address after H, just like before. Then we specify the adapter in monitor mode. Now my adapter is waiting for ARP request packets. As soon as one is sent in the network, it will capture and retransmit it forcing the router to create a new packet with a fresh IV. We will keep repeating this to generate more packets. And there we go. The number of data packets is increasing quickly, which means we successfully captured and retransmitted an ARP packet. The router is now generating new packets with new IVs continuously. The router is now generating new packets with new IVs continuously. With enough data, we can now run with, with enough net with enough data, we can now run Aircrack-ng to crack the network. Aircrack-ng, and let's do that. I will associate one more time and then run Aircrack-ng with the file containing the captured data. .cap file and hit enter. And there we have it, the key in both ASCII, and you can use key after removing the colons. So we cracked the web network even though it was idle. By using the ARP request replay attack, we forced the router to generate new packets with the new IVs. And with enough data, we successfully cracked the network key. Simple, right? That's how you can crack web network using the ARP request replay attack. Thanks for watching. See you in the next lesson.